The arrow tool allows you to select, move, and resize objects like fields, rectangles, buttons, text blocks, just to name a few. It really allows you to move, resize, and select any object that you see in FileMaker. Right now, our layout contains just fields and field labels, and field labels are just text blocks. So here's a field, and here's a label. Make sure that you have your arrow tool selected before you click on these objects, and when you do, you'll see that they get these anchor points, 1, 2, 3, 4 in each corner. This is the same with any object, so once you learn how to work with a field or even a text block, you know how to work with any object out there. So get used to those anchors, and if you're familiar with the drawing program, you'll be used to these anchors already. So let's go ahead and show you how to resize a field. All you do is click and hold on one of the anchors. Any one of these will move it or resize it, and you simply drag. You can drag down if you want, make it taller, but usually most fields are just one line tall. And when you let go, it's been resized. So you can go ahead and undo that if you don't like what you've done. And it's good to remember this keyboard command, Command-Z or Control-Z on Windows, because sometimes you do something, you go, oh, I didn't want that. And you want to set it back to where it was. Now you can also hold the Shift key down when you resize, and you'll notice that when I'm getting bigger here, as soon as I hold the Shift key down, then it constrains it to moving just one direction, not all directions. And then we'll undo that again. You can also move all your fields at once if you want. What you can do is draw a selection rectangle. So what we do is we click and hold down, and you can see how we can draw a selection rectangle. And if you've done this in the operating system, it's very similar. All you do is you drag and enclose all the objects. You have to enclose them completely in order for it to select those objects. For instance, if we come over here and draw a selection rectangle over here, you notice that we're enclosing company, name first, name last, but only touching address partially, and it doesn't select those objects. So you need to make sure with the selection rectangle everything is selected. And then once you have it selected, then you can move it around wherever you want, all those objects together. Then we'll undo it. And since selecting objects is very important, you need to know how to do it in many ways. So you can also hold down the Command key on the Macintosh or the Control key on Windows. And when you do that, you get a different kind of selection rectangle. It's got a little gray fill in it. You notice when you use it that all you have to do is touch a portion of the object, not enclose it, and it selects it. So that's very important for selecting, because sometimes you have all these objects all over the place and you need very different ways of selecting objects to get what you want selected. In fact, if you hold down the Shift key when you're clicking, but first we'll actually click on an object. You see, if I just click on one and then click on another, it actually deselects the previous object. But if I hold the Shift key down, it selects multiple objects. And so there's another way to go ahead and select all these objects together. And you'll notice when I'm moving this stuff around that we're on an object grid here. And it actually makes it very easy to get it back right where it was, because it's on this grid that goes 8 pixels. And so you can move things around and go, oh, well, I want to get it back to where it was, or line it up with something like that. It makes it very easy. It clicks to those positions. You can play around with this object grid, or in other words, turn it off by simply selecting it from the Arrange menu. You notice that now it's deselected. Now when we move something, you'll see that it moves a lot more freely, and it's harder to match things up, but it's also easier to get it to exactly where you want it. So there's advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to undo that. So I personally don't like the object grid. I always turn it off. Some people love it. It's a personal preference. So I'm going to turn it off for the rest of these tutorials, but you can turn it back on if you want, if you really like that feature. If you do have it on, let's say we have object grids on, and you don't like it moving every 8 pixels, you can click on an object and override that by using the arrow keys. Just click on an object or multiple objects and use the arrow keys to move back and forth. That'll move it 1 pixel at a time. Now what we want to do here is we do want to make our fields bigger. So we're going to select all of our fields. They're all lined up so we can resize them together. What I'm going to do is resize them all out to here so they have more room so you can see all what's in there. And then we're going to move over here and resize these fields so you can see everything that's in them. You much more easily see the content of it instead of having to click into the field like we've done in the past. So Here's your basics of layout mode using the arrow tool. You need to be able to learn how to click on an object to select it with the anchor points, be able to grab an anchor point, make sure when you're grabbing an anchor point that you put the very tip of your mouse on it. That's how you grab it, and it'll allow you to resize. You need to be able to move objects, grab it anywhere in the middle. And once you learn these basic capabilities, you can make your layout look like you want. Put a field over here, put a field over there, resize a field here, and get a very nice looking layout for yourself.